Good evening and welcome to Hug High School. This is the live stream version of the 2022 Symposium on Policing and Community and Policing. I'm Brian Samudio, the Public Information Officer of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Still plenty of time if you'd like to come down here and join us at the beautiful new campus of Proctor Hug High School that is at 3530 Sullivan Lane here in Sparks. Plenty of parking. Come on down. The CERT volunteers are here to guide you in. And it's an opportunity that our public, our community, will have to ask the tough questions, ask questions, discuss, and really one-on-one get a chance to speak with local law enforcement. There's food trucks available out front. We've got food. It's going to be great. All kinds of trucks out front, and it's going to be a really great evening. This is an event that has been beneficial to our community for a very long time. We are going to be starting here in just a few minutes. 5:30 is when we're expecting everything to start. So stick with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the start of our program.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming out to this very important community symposium. And many of you would ask the question, why would we have a symposium during the election? With the fiery speech, with things that are going on within our country, and yet Washoe County has the audacity to have a community symposium. Well, I believe that Washoe County has people that understand that although we may disagree, although we may agree, we all people. And we understand that respect is very essential and that we are not afraid to talk to people about issues. This is what makes us so unique. And this is what brought us together initially to have bold and courageous conversations. It was about in 2013. When Chief Pitts invited me to his office, and we have Detective Jerry Bowden, who's here today, and I expressed to him my concerns. And I said, what can we do for this community and in this community so that we will not have a Trayvon Martin tragedy? And we came together and we say law enforcement and the community need to have genuine dialogue. And since that time, we have grown and we have come together and we have created some great changes in this state. Number one, transparency. Transparency, although we're not where we want to be, we are way further up the road. Transparency concerning hiring practices, concerning even recruiting minorities, training them and maintaining them. We have improved. So today, we have created the Gwen Center report, and where we talked about mental health and things that we can do in recruitment. And today, as part of Washoe County, I can honestly say we are moving forward. You see, it's like a marriage. We have our disagreements. We may have even our conflict. But as we stand here today, I can truly and honestly say that I love Washoe County, that this is my home, the city of Reno, the city of Sparks, and all other rural areas. This is my home. And what I found out, that unity means you and I tied together. And I believe that we can go much further if we're hand in hand and if we're moving forward. So today, I welcome you to this courageous conversation. Before I move on, I would like to introduce the people that are here today. We have the District Attorney of Washoe County, Chris Hicks, who's here. The District Attorney, yes, Chris Hicks, thank you. We have Deputy Chief Josh Reynolds, who's standing in for Chief Eric James for the University of Nevada, Reno Police Services. We have Sheriff Darren Balaam, who's here for Washoe County Sheriff Office. We have Chief Chris Crawforth for Sparks Police Department is here. We have Deputy Chief Oliver Miller that's standing in for Chief Jason Soto for the Reno Police Department. We have Colonel Patrick Conway, who's here for the Nevada State Police. And we have Chief Jason Trevino from the Washoe County School Police. Can we all give them Number two, I would like to thank the people who have made this available. Partners who have made this available. We would like to thank the Washoe County School District for giving us the use of the facility for this day. We would also like to thank our food vendors who were sponsored by the police department, and we will have food here in front, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that in just a second. And also we would like to thank Alex Crosby, Tahoe Creamery, who donated ice cream today out of his own pocket. So thank you very much, Reno, all the police departments for the food, and Alex Crosby. Next, we would like to thank our media partners for being here. We want to thank you very much. I want to thank all the members who spent the last several months putting this together from the community. And I just want to say thank you very much. For those that participated in putting this together, can you just please raise your hand and let them know? Thank you very much, our community members. Also, the third, we would like to ask that if there are any public officials, will you please stand? Any public officials? We would like to thank our public officials for coming. And I really encourage the community to go out and meet your public officials, say hello to them, and to introduce yourself. Thank you very much. Next, as we get ready to move forward, we will have our land agreement with Pastor Deb, and we'll have the introduction of our drumming. And then immediately after that, we will have Tiffany Young with the 4 agreements. Thank you.
After I read good evening, everyone. After I read the land agreement that was formulated by the Human Rights Commission, I want you to know that the sound that you hear after the land agreement, it will be from Natalia Chacon. She is a UNR student, a criminal justice major from the Paiute tribe of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. We recognize the indigenous people, the Washoe, Numu, Nui, and Nuwu of the Great Basin whose ancestral homelands were stolen and developed into what is now known as Nevada. We also recognize that government programs separated indigenous children from their families and placed them in 367 boarding schools across the United States, including the Stewart Indian School located in our state capital. In an attempt to assimilate indigenous culture, we mourn the loss of their traditions, languages, and all of the wisdom, knowledge, and family members who cannot be replaced. We recognize that in spite of these human rights atrocities, there are 27 sovereign tribal nations, bands, and colonies in Nevada that continue as stewards of the land today. May the acknowledgement demonstrate a commitment to working together to dismantle ongoing legacies of oppression and inequities and recognize the current and future contributions of indigenous communities in Nevada. Please join us in this commitment to action. The title.
If you are able, I would like to ask you to stand as I honor the American flag in my language. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to ask Pastor Manera if you could join. Pastor Manera. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tiffany Young.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Tiffany Young.
Our hope and our goal for today is that you understand this is about community.
Nuestra meta en esta tarde es que entendamos que esto se trata de la comunidad.
In an effort to establish community, we must have communication.
Y en medio de tener comunidad tenemos que tener comunicación.
So as we walk through tonight, we're going to ask you to stay in 4 agreements with us.
Mientras caminamos en el proceso de esta tarde, vamos a pedirle favor que todos estemos en acuerdo.
The 4 agreements can be about race, about community, about concerns, about questions, but these will be the agreements we'll have for tonight.
Los 4 acuerdos que vamos a tener son
Around race,
en
around
cuanto a raza,
community,
comunidad,
concerns,
pendientes
and how we'll communicate tonight.
y que también hemos de comunicarnos esta tarde.
All right. So the first of those agreements is that you stay engaged.
El primero de esos acuerdos es que todos nos envolvamos.
And so we ask you that if you hear something that maybe you don't agree with, something that maybe does not sit well with you, that you commit to lean in.
Ok, que si hay algo que usted escucha con lo cual tal vez no está de acuerdo, que se mantenga de todas maneras en actividad.
The second of those agreements is that you speak your truth.
El segundo de los acuerdos es que usted hable lo que usted considera ser su verdad.
And that does not mean that we're going to tell someone about themselves today, all right?
Y eso no significa que usted le va a decir a alguien más acerca de ellos mismos.
We are going to talk about what is personal, what is local, and what is immediate to us.
Vamos a hablar de lo que es personal, de lo que es inmediato y de lo que es importante para nosotros.
So we want you to share with our community, with our law enforcement partners, things that you have individually experienced.
Entonces vamos a compartir con la comunidad y con las agencias policiales cosas que usted ha experimentado personalmente.
The third agreement is that you experience discomfort.
El tercer acuerdo es que vamos a experimentar cierta molestia.
We're not asking you to agree with us to make you uncomfortable.
No estamos diciendo que esté de acuerdo en que los vamos a incomodar.
We do know that sometimes these topics may be uncomfortable for some, while others may feel a little bit more comfortable in the conversation.
Sabemos que algunos de estos temas van a ser tal vez incómodos para algunos y otros van a ser menos cómodos.
So what we're asking you to experience some discomfort so that we can ensure that shift happens. SHIF is in fabulous T.
Entonces les pedimos favor que en medio de tal vez experimentar cierta incomodidad, tal vez todavía nos mantengamos envueltos.
And the last of those agreements is that you expect and accept non-closure.
Y el último de los acuerdos es que estemos a la expectativa de que algunas cosas tal vez no se van a poder concluir.
That means that we don't want this to be the last conversation. We understand that we will not have all of our answers tonight.
Equivalente a que lo más seguro es que hoy no vamos a poder tocar todo y hoy no es el fin de todo.
It is an opportunity for ongoing discussion, ongoing connection, and building ongoing relationships in our community.
Es una oportunidad para continuar la comunicación y continuar las relaciones en nuestra comunidad.
So let's start our night and stay in our 4 agreements. Thank you.
Empecemos la noche y mantengámonos en los 4 acuerdos. Gracias.
Tonight,
Hoy por la noche
we also have
también tenemos
interpreters
intérpretes
that are available.
que están disponibles.
And so can our interpreters raise their hand?
¿Se pueden levantar la mano?
There's a whole table there.
Hay toda una mesa en aquel lado.
And so if you need an interpreter,
Si necesita un intérprete,
please go and talk to them,
por favor vayan y hablen con ellos.
and they will be happy to interpret the discussion with the officials or the people that you're talking
Y
to.
ellos van a estar contentos en interpretar la discusión con ustedes y con las personas que están hablando.
I think also I should say this.
También debo decir esto.
It's close to 6:30,
Es aproximadamente las 6:30
and I know people are hungry.
y sé que la gente tiene hambre.
We've learned our lesson
Hemos aprendido nuestra lección
to feed people in the middle
a darle de comer a la gente a la mitad,
of the symposium.
a la mitad del simposio.
So at 6:30,
A las 6:30
that food trucks will be outside,
las trocas de comida van a estar afuera
and you have your tickets
y ustedes tienen el ticket,
and if you present your tickets to the food trucks,
si le presenta el ticket a las personas de las trocas,
you can order your meal there,
usted puede ordenar su comida ahí,
free of charge
libre de costo,
by our law enforcement.
provisto por las agencias policiales.
So thank you.
Gracias.
So today,
Esta tarde,
as we get ready to move forward,
cuando nos preparamos para continuar,
we have 4 topics
tenemos 4 temas
that we will be dialoguing about
de los que vamos a estar platicando
at each table.
en cada mesa.
First, we will have mental health
Primero vamos a tener problemas mentales
and law enforcement response.
y la respuesta de las agencias policiales.
So you can go to the table
Usted puede ir a la mesa
and just engage in dialogue.
y envolverse en el diálogo.
Our leaders
Los líderes
will walk around
van a caminar alrededor
and they are willing to greet you
y están dispuestos a saludarles
and to talk
y para hablar
about issues.
acerca de los temas.
Also, we have plenty law enforcement in here.
También tenemos suficientes oficiales acá.
So if you have questions,
Si ustedes tienen preguntas,
feel free
siéntanse libres
to ask law enforcement
de preguntarles a los agentes policiales
about questions that you have.
acerca de preguntas que puedan tener.
So mental health
Problemas mentales
is very important
es muy importante
for our community
para nuestra comunidad
and for our law enforcement.
y para las agencias policiales.
And so we want to have open
Queremos tener una conversación abierta
and courageous dialogue.
y motivadora.
Then we'll have police accountability.
Vamos a tener las responsabilidades de la policía
And then with police accountability,
y cuando se trata de eso,
we would have century policing.
vamos a tener lo que es la policía del siglo,
Yes, the Gwynn Center report
el reporte del centro WIN
and the 2020 legislation.
y lo que tiene que ver con la legislatura del 2020.
And each individual agency
Cada agencia individual
is prepared
está preparada
to discuss
para discutir
their use of force status.
el uso de fuerza que utilizan.
And the third
Y lo tercero,
discussion
la tercera discusión
would be on unsheltered persons,
va a tener con personas que no tienen dónde vivir,
on the different agencies
las diferentes agencias
and efforts in our community
y los esfuerzos que se están haciendo en la comunidad
to help
para ayudar
our community.
a nuestra comunidad.
And then the last table will be an open discussion.
Y la última mesa será una discusión abierta.
And this may include any other issue
Y esto puede incluir cualquier otro tema
or questions presented
o preguntas presentadas
by the attendees.
por los que están asistiendo.
Okay? So here you have each table, and at each table we have various types of papers there, and you can see that there's words, trigger words, to sort of help with the discussion and help with the dialogue. So once again, introduce yourself to people, get to know each other, get to know law enforcement, and let's have courageous conversation. Thank you very much, and we will be back.
Well, some great words there by Dr. Norris Dupree. You see him there in the foreground, and it's just really great to talk with him throughout this entire process of putting together this symposium. Hi there, I'm Brian Samudio, Public Information Officer of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, and welcome to the 2022 Symposium on Community and Policing. Welcome. If you haven't been able to come down here yet, there's still time. This is going to go on until at least 8 o'clock tonight here at the brand new Hug High School on Sullivan Lane in Sparks. We've got food trucks out front. We're giving out food vouchers. There's free ice cream if you want to be part of that. We are going to have high-ranking members of all 4 local law enforcement agencies sitting in with us tonight. And then Dr. Dupree is scheduled to sit with me at the end of the night and discuss how the evening goes and just kind of talk about the progression of this symposium. It's been going on for a while now, and see the development of it. So the last few years, how certain questions need to be asked. I love the way that he started things out by saying only Washoe County has the audacity to have a symposium. Why? Because you have to be courageous, and we are moving forward. That's a quote from Dr. Dupree just moments ago. But we are going to start off here in a second with Chief of the Sparks Police Department. That'll be Chris Crawforth, who's been a part of this event for a number of years. Also joining me will be Washoe County Sheriff Darren Balaam. He's going to sit down with me as well. Deputy Chief Oliver Miller from the Reno Police Department will join me, and Lieutenant Andrew Granata from the Nevada Highway Patrol, now the Nevada State Police, as we're getting used to bringing them in. Now, hey, Chief Crawforth, come on over. Let's put a microphone on you, and we'll have you sit down. Good to see you.
You too.
How are
Thank
you?
Thanks
Let's
for having
clip that on your tie, please, sir.
me. Okay. You're high.
Well, so far, so good. I mean, a great turnout in this brand new, beautiful venue. And now Hug High School can call Sparks its home. You get this brand new, beautiful building here. Tell me about so far your impression of the night.
Oh, really good. I'm excited for the turnout and some open minds, and I'm excited to see where we go.
Where do you see this symposium now? You've been a part of it for a little while. You've been part of some of these. We haven't had one in a couple of years, so it's great just to see everybody back together and talking. But Dr. Dupree even said Washoe County has the audacity to hold a symposium. Well, I think that's something that is important, is that this is a community of people that want to communicate and want to understand what it's like to maybe be in someone else's shoes.
Yeah, and I appreciate that he said that, because generally what we see across our country is we see these pop up when there's a significant incident
Of course.
that occurs, and I definitely agree with him for the audacity to just do it just because it's the right thing to do, and it's been a long time to everyone get together.
You are the chief of the Sparks Police Department. You get the tough questions. When you have the opportunity like this, I would imagine that someone like you, I work with a man, Sheriff Darren Balaam, who embraces the opportunity to answer questions and open a dialogue. I would imagine you're the same way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look forward to hearing from people and really putting myself out there so they get to know me, so that they hopefully will trust me, or at least lean into me a little bit and ask questions. And sometimes they're uncomfortable, and on both sides, but I want to ask that so that we can serve our community the way they want us to serve them.
If you're watching us live here on this feed, we encourage you, please type in your questions, ask us what questions you want me to ask our local law enforcement leaders. When it comes to Sparks, of course, every area is going to be unique and have different challenges. When it comes to the area of the beautiful city of Sparks, what type of challenges and what type of questions do you get on a regular basis?
I get very different questions. So if we look at Sparks, and most people know it, you have Spanish Springs and traditional Sparks, which are very different requests, very different needs of the police department. So, but we're a growing city. We've grown a lot. I look back to when I started, over 20 years ago, and we had just over 68,000 people, and now we're 40,000 above that. So we're a growing city with a great force, a lot of good diversity and a lot of good different ideas. And I love that it changes so much from one street corner to the next in the city.
What kind of challenges do you face? Because Sparks, it is growing exponentially. It's exploding right now. What type of challenges do you face, not only just as a chief, but as an agency?
The big thing is the staffing, and then realizing that our community has changed a lot. Just how, the diversity within the community, people coming from outside the areas. We know Northern Nevada has been very stuck to being Northern Nevada. So
yes,
opening up our minds to people who are coming from not just over the hill in California, but all over this country to move here, as we've seen. And we're becoming this technology sector, which means a lot of folks live in Sparks because we're closest to that technology center out there. So we're getting people from all over the country and all over the world. So adapting to those changes is exciting and difficult at the same time.
Let's get back to this symposium on policing, our community and policing. How do you see this event evolving, and how has it changed since you started being involved in it?
We've had different topics. We've had, kicked it off during times where there was a lot of national strife, local strife. And this is truly continuing to grow so that people feel an opportunity to come speak with us. And what I hope it will grow into is people feel more comfortable hitting us outside of this, meaning coming to us and asking questions, and finding us at city council meetings, at our different committees that we have throughout each of our respective agencies. So just that day-to-day, asking our officers questions they want to know, rather than just waving, just ask the things they want to know.
If you have questions, just type them in, and we'll be able to ask them tonight. What type of challenges do you think an event like this does face? There are conversations that are not going to be easy tonight. And I personally believe that sometimes difficult conversations are good ones to have. What challenges do you see on a night like this?
The big challenge is, I think, from the public side is a question or belief, will law enforcement change things that come up tonight?
Mhm.
So the answer is sometimes things change really quickly and sometimes they need some more discussion. But I also hope that people understand that if they get to understand why we do certain things, maybe they'll accept that. But the change, and as Dr. Dupree mentioned, we've come a long ways with transparency and we still have a road to go, but we've done that. So I hope that's the step forward that the community accepts, that regionally we've all
Right.
made some changes.
Before I let you go, what message would you want someone to take away from a night like this? If you could pick one message that someone could go home and take back to their family, their friends, what would it be?
The message I would say is that the community is us and we are the community. So if we don't hear from you or you don't ask or you don't inquire, then we can't serve you to your full needs because we don't know what you expect of us.
Sparks Police Chief Chris Crawforth, I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
Good to see you. I know you've got a lot of discussions out there
Yes.
that are going to happen, and it's very, very healthy. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to have more of the 2022 Symposium on Community and Policing coming up here in just a minute. The chief's got to get out and do his job, and that's answer questions. That's what this night is all about. And topics that we want to bring to the forefront in this symposium this year is mental health and law enforcement response. That's a big one. Police accountability, of course, and then unsheltered persons. So if you have questions, please type them in, and I'll do my best to get them to our local law enforcement leaders. I'm Brian Samudio, Public Information Officer of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. We're going to take a quick little break, and next guest, we are expecting Washoe County Sheriff Darren Balaam. That's coming up next. Welcome back to the 2022 Symposium on Community and Policing here at Hug High School, this brand new facility, which is gorgeous here on Sullivan Lane in Sparks. And joining me now, Washoe County Sheriff Darren Balaam. Sheriff, good to see you. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having
I
us.
think I just saw you in the hallway across from my office, but
Yes.
it's great. It's great. Well, let's talk about the building. What a great facility for these students. This is amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. It's you don't realize driving by, it looks big, but when you get in, it is big
Massive.
and beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's get back to what we're talking about tonight, and that's the Symposium on Community and Policing. And you've been a big part of this for so many years. How proud are you just to be a part of this and have the Washoe County Sheriff's Office be involved in this?
I'm extremely proud. This is what policing is about.
Yeah.
We always talk about, yes, there's enforcing the law, but there's more than just that. It's about getting on the community. We always should be striving to be better. And these symposiums have allowed us to hear that feedback, maybe that the community didn't have the opportunity or for whatever reason had a bad experience and were afraid to come in. And with this environment, that provides that security that they're going to come in and have, as Dr. Dupree said, a courageous conversation. And we've learned a lot over the years from these. I think on both sides, we've been able to educate the community on some of the stuff of why we do what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we're different as agencies.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's to serve this community. But on the other hand, the community said, hey, here's some of our concerns.
Yeah.
How do we address that? And you've seen over the last couple of years, we have been moving forward. We're putting out our statistics. We're trying to be more transparent. So for me, I'm extremely proud.
You've seen this transition and move forward. And I mean, talk about kicking the ball through the uprights. Dr. Dupree says that we have the audacity to host a symposium. Well, they're healthy conversations that need to be had. And that's what this is about. And being able to meet the public face to face, because you are the sheriff of Washoe County, being able to meet them face to face and hear their concerns, that means a lot to you. I know it does.
Absolutely. Again, when you can sit down with somebody one-on-one, or in this one, in a group, you get to genuinely express things that you may not if you're walking around out in a big community event where people are coming up. And so you can truly have those deep conversations, and more importantly, you can listen. And for me, that's important. We don't always want to be telling the community, because that's not right. That's not community policing. Yeah. We have to listen, because that's the only way we know either what we've implemented is working or how we can improve it, and what areas of the community may have that we don't even know about. And then we can bring resources to bear, even if it's not within law enforcement, because that's the great thing about law enforcement is we have that ability and that opportunity to bring in outside resources, kind of like the detention facility, bringing in all of our nonprofits doing walkabouts and educating those that are incarcerated, but They're going to get back out. Here's the resources in our community.
Yeah.
Here's how you access them.
Partnering like that, and that's what the result is behind us. This is months and months of work. I mean, I had just started with the agency, and this was literally in its fledgling stages of this planning for this one event. If you aren't able to come down here, we're going to be down here for a while. This is going to go until at least 8 o'clock. I have a feeling there's going to be discussion probably going on a little bit later. But we are at the new High School on Sullivan Lane here in Sparks. There are food trucks outside. We'll give you some food vouchers. There's free ice cream. If that's not enough, you can watch it right here on Facebook and watch the stream. And if you have any questions, please send them in. You've seen the development of this event. You've seen it. It has to evolve. And what do you think you've seen over the years?
You know, what I've seen is we've moved it around the community, trying to allow those that may not be able to get there, that access. We've tried doing conversations where when we were at Dr. Monera's church,
Yes,
we were up just speaking to the community, and they were asking questions, but there wasn't a lot of dialogue. So what we see now is that evolution is kind of what we did for the faith-based breakfast. We do every 6 months. Is having individual tables. So now you can have those personal conversations. So we went from more of the talking to with a few interactions and maybe before and after you're interacting with the community to now quickly kicking it off. We're not talking to the community. We're talking with and listening to the community.
And that was part of the message when we started promoting this event. It was our community. And then that was part of the big message here. What do you think the future is for an event like this? I mean, this is necessary.
Absolutely. I think we just continue to expand.
Yeah.
We look for different ways throughout our community to move this event, different times of the year, different topics. Things are going to come up. We're going to look at whether it's a national incident that comes, whether it's a local incident. Right now, we're talking about mental health. That's an ongoing challenge. We have drugs, crimes, hiring, transparency. So what I see as we continue this is we move it around and we look for those topics both locally and maybe nationally that may have a ripple effect here. And how do we access that? Is that like today where we have food trucks, we have ice cream, we have tables. Maybe there's another way of how we look to present and interact with our community. We have to always look for different ways.
I do want to ask you, if you could have one member of this community who maybe walked in here tonight a little skeptical about law enforcement, what message would you want to them to walk away with tonight?
That we're here to listen.
Yeah.
And we care. We're not perfect, but we care. We are listening, and we are committed to making sure they feel safe about law enforcement, so they can call us for anything. As I always say, I'd rather if somebody needs help, call us and walk through our front doors and don't come through the back in handcuffs. We'd rather help you when you come through, get those resources. And so that's what I'd want them to know is we're here, we care, and we're going to listen.
Great message. Like Sarah Balaam said, the food trucks are out front. They're serving food here in just a few minutes. That's free. There's free ice cream, and there's free discussion. There's free just kind of listening to each other. Maybe you want to do some talking. Maybe you want to do some listening. Come on down to Hug High School here on Sullivan Lane, or just stay with us right here on Facebook, and we'll try and get to your questions as they come in. Sheriff Balaam, appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
Thanks very much. Coming up next here on the 2022 Symposium on Policing, Community and Policing, rather, we will have the Deputy Chief of the Reno Police Department, Oliver Miller, take the seat and answer questions. Welcome back to the 2022 Symposium on Police, Community and Policing here at Hug High School. There's still plenty of time to get down there here. It's only 6:25, and we expect this event to go till at least 8. Sheriff Balaam and I were talking about it might go a little past 8 because some people like to continue the conversation. And I think that's healthy. Reno Police Deputy Chief Oliver Miller joining me right now, and good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Good. It's been a long grind. It's been a healthy grind to get this together. You've been one of the main leaders when it comes to this in law enforcement about putting this together. I'm not ashamed to say that because I see how much hard work you put into it. How proud of you. You turn around because it's like I've heard Eric Edelstein with the Aces say it. You open up the gates and you just hope people show up. Well, people showed up.
You know, it's been a long time, Brian, since we've had an opportunity to get in front of our community. We were shut down for COVID in 2020. We couldn't get it off the ground in 2021. I know that it was extremely important to our agency leaders that we get in front of our community face to face to have those genuine conversations. and it just doesn't feel the same virtually. So I am so pleased with the turnout tonight.
I'm so tired of Zoom. I don't know about you, but I got so sick of Zoom. If you do want to come on down here, there's still plenty of time. The food trucks are out front here at Hug High School. We're going to give you food vouchers for that. There's free ice cream, and as I've been saying, there's free conversation. What kind of topics have you been presented so far this evening? I saw you out there mingling around a little bit.
So there was actually some questions about sideshows. I had questions on homelessness. And my last conversation had to do with our Gwynn Center report. So I got to talk a little bit about that.
Let's explain a little bit more to folks who may not be familiar with the Gwynn Center report.
The Gwynn Center report, I had the opportunity to participate that at its inception in 2016. So our elected officials got together and really started to look at where are the gaps in law enforcement? How can we better serve our community? So it really was an initiative led by Dr. Angie Taylor, former Councilman Oscar Delgado, and our former chiefs and sheriffs at the time. I got to sit on those panels, and they hired the Gwynn Center to look at the Reno Police Department, the Sparks Police Department, and the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Where can we do better? Where can we do better in terms of police accountability, training, mental health and wellness? There were a number of policies that we were all looking at improving to ensure that we deliver the best service to our community and that we were reflective of the community that we serve. So we came up with this report based on all the recommendations from every single department. We all had a piece of it. Then we started to try and make those small repairs, 2017, 2018, 2019, that really speak to the Gwynn Center report. Just let me give you a couple of examples. In 2016, we learned that we were not where we needed to be in terms of our hiring based on a couple of testing processes for police recruits to become Reno police officers. And that was the grip strength test. You had to be able to grip 70 pounds to become a police officer during the testing. What we learned from that was that a lot of the women that were testing to be police recruits, police candidates, they weren't able to grip that 70 pounds, 68, 69 pounds. The little measuring device they used actually didn't even read accurately if it were cold enough in the mornings. So we looked at our policy, our civil service policy for that. We looked at Nevada post requirements. And what we determined was that it was an arbitrary test. There is no need to be able to grip 70 pounds to become a police officer or to be a police officer. So we did away with the test, and we saw our numbers for female recruit candidates, and that is hiring and retention, increase. So they really did help us in terms of those policy issues that we had, those institutional barriers to becoming a police department that is reflective of the community we serve.
I had a chance to talk with Sparks Police Chief Chris Crawforth as we started this symposium. He was our first guest. And every community has different challenges, different needs, whether you're Reno, whether you're Washoe County, even the University of Nevada Police Department, who's part of this here tonight, police services. What challenges do you think are unique that you're finding here in Reno? Obviously, sideshows are a big thing, and that we could do a whole show on that. But what are some unique challenges that you're finding?
Some of the unique challenges, especially in the city of Reno, we are such a busy city. And when I say busy, I mean lots and lots of calls for service. We don't quite have the number of police staff that we once had back in 2000. We've actually shrunk in terms of the number of police officers sworn that we have, and grown geographically and in terms of population. So with that, just being able to be responsive to the needs of the community for our visiting communities and our visiting communities. So we have the special events that we staff, Zombie Crawl, Santa Crawl, Hot August Nights, Street Vibrations, just to name a few. All the while, we still have, things that need to be handled in the city, traffic accidents, domestic assault and batteries, and as you said, it's sideshows. Another unique challenge, and I won't say unique, but I'll say a difficult challenge for our city is our homeless. And that was one of the topics that we are actually talking about. And to meet the needs of that unique challenge, because we know that homelessness is not a crime. It's not necessarily a police issue until crime occurs with this community. We also know that this community is largely mental health issues, are unprecedented amongst our unhoused homeless communities, addiction issues. And if we can address those issues with this community, we can have an impact. We want to ensure that we're not trying to arrest or cite our way out of the problem. So what we've done this last year was hire what we call mobile outreach safety team clinicians. We have 4 of
The
them.
most team.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
the most team. We have 4 of them that work at the Reno Police Department. Most was actually started by Officer Patrick O'Brien of the Reno Police Department in the early 2000s. And we were able to bring that program back to Reno PD so we can be responsive to those issues to reduce recidivism, and that is our homeless population, into the criminal justice system.
Mhm.
So instead of, delivering a citation or an arrest, we try to connect them to resources.
Yes.
Our mobile outreach safety clinicians, they actually do triage with our members of our homeless community, with other community members that are in need of clinical services. And they ensure that, they stay connected with those services to decrease the likelihood that we are going to have to respond back, and that it's not an issue in the future. So those are some of the things we've done during those times when we do have to enforce, laws, with regard to our homeless community. We do not want to send them further down the spiral of, losing money or having to be in jail. What we do is we send them to community court. Community court provides them an opportunity to meet with a magistrate, to have the opportunity to be placed back on their medications if they need them, to have addiction services resources. And if they don't meet the criteria for that, or they fail to, comply with the judge's lawful order, then they can engage in community services, because we know that they don't have the funding streams to, participate in a regular, ticket, citation, administrative penalty system. Right. So those are just a couple of things that we do at Reno PD, and that, we work with our region, to ensure that we are not sending them further down a hole where, if you're homeless, you go to jail, you leave all your property behind, you have to build back up from that.
Right.
It's a real process. So we try not to arrest, cite, and enforce our way out of the issue. And that's not the right answer.
Deputy Chief Miller with the Reno Police Department joining me here on the 2022 Symposium on Community and Policing. You don't get this many stripes and this many stars without doing this for a very long time and doing it very, very well. You talk about differences in training, how training has had to evolve. How much have you seen it evolve in just the last few years, maybe just the last 5 years? You see so much more going into resources and care and getting someone help instead of just, no, we're just going to take care of it a different way. You've seen it change a lot, haven't you?
I've seen a huge change in our training. And that goes to our police officers. In 2020, we actually implemented cultural competency training mandated for the entirety of the department. And this was prior to George Floyd, prior to, the issues that we saw in the summer of 2020. So actually prior to, we had this all organized prior to the pandemic. We had all of our officers go to that training so that they could be aware of the differences in our community, to be better advocates for our community. Policing, as I said it, and I'm going to repeat it again, it's not just arresting or citing our way out of the problem. Our job really is to connect people with resources so that we can improve their quality of life. So trying to actually take a look at the training that they go through. And, we talk about de-escalation training. We talk about recognizing those who are in mental health crisis, those who are, having drug addiction crisis. What are the differences between, the different types of training that we do, and what's important to our community? And that was one of the real focuses of the Gwynn Center report. A highly trained police department in 2016 is what this group came up with. So we as a region actually started working on it. And we've seen a difference, an impact in the number of officer complaints, decreasing over the years, the number of use of force incidents going down with our police officers. We've seen a number of positive interactions with our police officers. During that time also, body worn cameras came online. So that had a positive effect on our communication and, our community interactions, the level of interactions that we were able to have with our community. And we brought the community to the table when we crafted the policy, because we didn't want it to be different from the city of Sparks to the city of Reno. We wanted those privacy expectations to be the same in Washoe County and in the surrounding areas. So a lot of change from the last time we had this symposium to current date.
And when it comes to training, maybe people, there's individual training at each agency that there's different training goes on, but all of it starts right up at that facility. And you have Washoe County Sheriff's deputies, you have Reno police officers, you've got Sparks police officers, UNPD, all are learning right under that same roof.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this region so great. We train together, we go to the academy together, we work together. These men and women, they cover each other on calls for service, especially in those jurisdictional boundaries when we get close. Or if I'm out of police officers, the Sparks Police Department will send units over to assist. If the Washoe County Sheriff's Office needs assistance, we can assist. We all speak the same language on the radios. We have primarily very similar policies. So we are able to integrate, collaborate, and work together. We also have regional teams that work together. We've got a regional narcotics unit. We've got the regional gang unit. We've got human exploitation and trafficking and/or heat. We've got sex offender notification. So we've got a lot of teams that actually coalesce and work together region-wide to make the community a safer place.
Yeah, you see officers in different buildings around the community. You walk around the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, and I'll run into someone from Sparks Police Department or someone from the Reno Police Department. You've seen this build, what's going on behind us, and they're all moving off into tables. And I think some of them have gone outside to eat. But what do you see the evolution? What do you see next for the future for this event?
So this event has been going strong since 2014. I had the opportunity to participate in the first, it was called the Race Symposium. We've since changed that to Symposium on Community and Police because it encompasses so much more than just race.
Right.
Culture, really. Any issue that you might have or question that you might have of your police department gets answered here. So what I see of this, the future iterations of it, we will continue to do it every single year. We'd actually like to get it off the ground more than once a year. We might try and start slowly, twice a year, maybe once a quarter, but we need to get out there with our community, continue to ask them the questions, continue to receive the feedback, because we get some pretty valuable information from these. We have comment cards for particular agencies. So if you have a question for the Reno Police Department, you can leave your question on a comment card. If it doesn't get answered here tonight, if it doesn't get answered online, we have the opportunity to get back to the person. And that's hosted through the University of Nevada, Reno, Dr. Manny Barth. He's been helping us out with it for a long, long time. A lot of great ideas have come out of this, and we've had aha moments, where we've changed our practices, our procedures, our policies, built on some of the feedback and critique that we get from our community here.
Well, I've let every single member of law enforcement leadership answer a question before they've left me, and I've said, if you could have someone leave this event with one message, what would you want it to be?
The one message that I'd want to be clear on with our visiting community is that your police are accessible. The only way that our social contract works, the only way that this system that we have in place works, is with collaboration, trust, and these positive interactions. And even if your question is not so positive, you have critique of your police department, that's why our chiefs and sheriffs and DAs are here. We want to hear those things. We want to get that good critique feedback from our community. We want to hear how we're doing. And that's very important to us. And, so if we can get more folks out to these events, I would love to fill this place, have to hire another food truck because we ran out of food, and we would do it.
Deputy Chief Oliver Reno with the Reno Police Department. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to do one thing for me, because our NHB guest has not arrived yet, but I've been blessed with P-Debs is in the house. Hey. Pastor Deb, I want you to come up and sit with me, please. Please come up here. Oh, this is going to be a treat. Thank you very much, sir.
You're very
Good luck.
welcome.
We'll see you out there. All right. Thank you.
Well, hello.
Come and
how are
sit
you?
down. How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm
So good to see you.
Oh, well, here we
Let's
go.
put the microphone on there.
I got you.
Tell you what, we're going to take a very short break so we can put the microphone on Pastor Debs. And we'll be right back here in a second. Literally, it'll be less than a minute on the 2022 Symposium on Community and Policing here at Hug High School. Get down here. Still plenty of time to come down. Welcome back to the 2022 Symposium on Community and Policing. Very special guests. We know her as P. Debs, but Deba Whitlock-Lax, who also serves as a chaplain with our organization at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. She's with the Bethel AME Church there over on Rock. So if you want to go over for a great service, that's a place to go get some
10:30.
fellowship. 10:30? Yeah, you better be there. Otherwise, P. Debs is going to come find you. You are one of the big components of building this event. How important is it for our community to do as I mean, Dr. Dupree said, we had the audacity to hold a symposium.
We do have the audacity.
Yes, we do.
And part of that audacity is saying to the community that your voice matters.
Yes.
And when your voice matters, that really does require that we sit at the seat. It's really easy to complain, from the side.
Right.
But it's a different thing to sit at the seat and really talk about issues, talk about conversations that may very well be pretty tough. So yeah, we have the audacity to hold it, a few days before the election. We have the audacity to say to the community, come out regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, regardless of your economic status, to come out and be a part of the solution rather than the problem.
You've seen this event evolve, and it has to evolve. It has to grow. It has to change. I talked with Deputy Chief Miller about changing and training in law enforcement, how you have to evolve. How happy are you with where it is now, and where do you want to see it go?
I definitely am very happy. I certainly would not have involved myself with law enforcement, not only with the sheriff, but also with Sparks Police, and trying to, raise the chaplaincy for Sparks Police. I believe that there is a concerted effort to not only bring minority bodies of colors together, but also to shrink the gender gap with recruiting.
Yes.
So that's a huge step for any organization, to make sure that the people who look like the community are wearing the badge.
Absolutely.
And because we certainly have seen over the last several years, I see one of the comments talks about George Floyd and why aren't folks getting drug tested? Well, you know what? Come to the table, talk about it, and then hold people accountable. But you can't hold anybody accountable if you're on the fringe, complaining, pointing fingers, being judgmental, and don't have any clue of what it's like to put on the badge. No clue.
Yeah.
One of the things that I would love to see is for a higher sense of community responsibility. I know that the phrase out there is, when you see something, say something.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how important that is. A member of my neighborhood actually saw something in the hills on October 31st. Now, he could have, just kind of went home and said, oh, what a gruesome thing I just saw. But he said something. And man, I saw law enforcement there not only on Halloween, but also the next day looking for, the perpetrator. Right. So what needs to happen in the future? What needs to happen in the future is that the community needs to get involved. Not only seeing something and saying something, but get volunteer.
Yeah.
You need a job? Volunteer. Not volunteer. You don't want to
apply.
You apply.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Get involved by educating yourself with regards to understanding the law, understanding the plight of different communities, and then scheduling some time with the chief of police, schedule some time with the sheriff, schedule some time with the deputy chiefs,
schedule some time to do a ride along. You know, really get to understand what it really means to put on the badge and to walk into danger. Last year, I did a ride along with the sheriff's department, and man, I tell you what, my eyes were open. My eyes were completely open. We walked into a situation where somebody was hacking away with a hack, you know, and thank God, you know, there was at least 6 or 7 police officers on, and I was the last car to get there, thank goodness. But I said, "Oh, you do this every day?"
Yeah.
Every day. And I said, okay. We need to pray a little bit more, and we need to be a lot more supportive. Now, are there knuckleheads out there? Absolutely. There are knuckleheads out there. Not only the folks that wear the uniform, but also the folks that do the crime. But 99.99% of our law enforcement is doing pretty good.
What kind of conversations do you have with folks that attend your church when you try to present them an event like this?
Well, thank goodness, Bethel AME is the oldest African American community church in all of Nevada, 118 years, I believe.
Fantastic.
And some of the conversations that I have with individuals is, but what about the atrocities that are happening with African Americans? How do we address that? And again, my mantra, my repetitive, it probably sounds like a broken record, is get involved. Get to know, because certainly it's very difficult when a community is very tightly connected with their law enforcement officers, for someone to have a knee-jerk reaction, because when law enforcement officers know their community, it's difficult to see that kind of thing, okay? Likewise, when communities on the other side get to know their law enforcement, it's very difficult when you have sat across from someone that you've had coffee with, that you've had breakfast with,
Yes.
to have a negative opinion on someone you personally know. And so for me, it has to be a community relationship. And everything begins with relationship. Everything begins with a conversation. So to have those courageous conversations, I have sat across from officers in Reno, Sparks, and Sheriff's Office, and literally have witnessed, officers weep because they've been judged in a particular way.
Right.
And we weep together, because I know that on one side we can definitely see the atrocities, and on the other side we don't always hear the things that are going on. As a sheriff, as a sheriff chaplain, we do get the privilege of seeing the human side of our officers, and so I think it's just important that we come to the table and have the audacity to have a courageous conversation.
When it comes to everybody that's been at this table tonight, everyone that's worn a badge, everyone has worn a badge. You wear a badge of higher power. I want you to be able to answer the same question: is what type of message, if someone came in here and they could walk away with one message, what would you want it to be?
The law is for lawbreakers, not for people who are within the law. And God sets up the law for our protection. And so when we understand that those who break the law are lawless, and that God himself puts people in position to govern our land. Now, somebody may push back and say, Pastor, but what about those knuckleheads that shoot innocent kids like Tamar Rice? Unfortunately, that kind of stuff happens. And it's a terrible, tragic thing that happens. That's where prayer comes in. That's where we gather around our communities and begin to educate our young people. Unfortunately, in the African American world, we literally, as a mom, I'm a mom of 3 children, and when I have to have a conversation with my son and say, you know what, don't get in an argument. Yep, it is your right to speak. Listen here, you're not going to fight a bullet. Put your hand to 2 and 10. Put your hand.
Yep.
Don't try to figure it out. We'll work it out in the courtroom if you are innocent. But baby boy, you better be innocent. You better be able to look me square in the eye and say you're innocent. If you're not, I can't support you.
Right.
And so when we begin to not only educate our police, law enforcement agencies on really the atrocities that have happened to brown and black skinned folks, and build a sensitivity around that, and be really able to not point the finger and say, yeah, all black people are wild and crazy and violent, but that there are humans under that skin.
Yeah.
When we're able to really have a conversation, a really frank conversation about that, then that's the step in the right direction. When we're able to sit across from, communities that have been abused, oppressed, and say there's some things that we can do to mitigate problems, to make sure that you get up off of that ground and go to the next day, and be able to really educate our communities that way, then we're in a step of the right direction. When we're able to really look at the systemic problems that are in this country, we're in the right direction.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just important to be able to sit and talk and share. And sometimes it makes you angry, sometimes it makes you smile, sometimes it makes you go, but it's those type of conversations,
Oh, yeah.
that really requires us to come together as a community. And that's why the symposium is so important, because there's over 250 people out there who are having conversations with people that they may have a little bit of anxiety about. And quite frankly, officers have anxiety too.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely correct.
And so if we can just humanize this thing
Right.
and say that all race matters, the blue lives matter, the black lives matter, the white lives matter, whoever lives matter, then we can really get down to brass tacks and really start talking about things that really do matter. And that's keeping our community safe.
I'm proud to know you. You know that? You're going to make me cry, girl. Give me a hug. Give me a
Aw.
hug. Good to see you. So good to see you. Thank
It
you
is
for being
good to
here.
see you.
You want more of this? Go over to Rock Boulevard. It's basically right at Rock and McCarran.
2655 North Rock
2655.
Boulevard in Sparks.
Yep. Bethel AME Church. And get yourself some PDEPs, because it is it's soul just enriching. It's just talking to you really makes a difference.
Thank you.
I do have another guest that's here in the
Okay.
room right now, Lieutenant Andrew Granata from the Nevada State Police. So I will take
Can I-
the mic off.
Okay, you get to wear the mic, man.
We're going to bring him over here right now.
All right, here you go.
Thank you.
This is for you.
Appreciate it.
And
Thank you,
guys
ma'am.
check us out. God bless.
If you have any questions, or the folks behind the cameras can tell me what your questions are, if you want to send those in, we'll have Lieutenant Granata take a seat here, and we'll see how things are going with the Nevada State Police at our symposium. Lieutenant, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Go ahead and clip that right up there if you would. And that looks good.
Beautiful.
Later, PDEPs. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Andrew Granata with the Nevada State Police joining me now, and here at the symposium on community and policing. And how are things so far? You've been able to kind of go out and mill around and see you guys mingling. How do you think the feel is out there?
I think it's great. You see a vast group of people out there as far as age, ethnicity, and different backgrounds, different cultures. So we're really able to capture the full circle of really what's at heart here, what's on people's minds, what's a pressing issue for people, different perspectives. So it's great to give that back, but it's also great for those people to receive feedback from other people, not just from law enforcement, but from a perspective of maybe someone who's a little bit more youthful than that person, right? Or a little bit older. So it's been great.
How many of these symposiums have you been at?
This is actually my first one.
First one.
Yes, sir.
What do you think you've learned so far tonight? And the night's far from over. It's still going to go until at least 8 o'clock. And I think that we're at the brand new Huck High School in the gymnasium, or the cafeteria. It's about the size of a gymnasium. It's massive. Food trucks are out front. There's free ice cream. What do you think you've learned so far tonight?
You know what? I think that law enforcement in a whole really needs to embrace that we need to educate through enforcement rather than just enforce. And what I mean by that is it's one thing to enforce and, for the lack of better terms, place handcuffs on people, write a citation, but what does that really accomplish, right? So if we can educate in that process and have a deterrence while educating the public, I think that's a big win for law enforcement as a whole. And it shows that we have empathy, that we're not above the law, and that there's a standard for every human, every race.
I've spoken with representatives from Sparks Police Department, Washoe County Sheriff's Office, Reno Police Department tonight. NSP has the unique opportunity of being statewide.
Right.
What kind of challenges do you think you guys are facing right now when it comes to not necessarily a forum like this, but what challenges are facing the NHP?
So, like you mentioned, state police is very unique because we have different divisions that are very separate from each other. So rather than having one police department where we have different divisions within that police department, we have a department and we have different division heads within the department. So, for example, Nevada State Police, we have the Highway Patrol Division. We have a chief, a colonel. For parole and probation, we have a chief, a colonel. Same thing with Fire Marshal, Capitol Police, Nevada Department of Investigations. So each one is a different entity of themselves. The neat thing being, we also have an internal affairs unit, right? So rather than something to occur where there is misconduct or the belief that someone, caused misconduct, rather than that, and I think that the common belief is, well, it's just going to be swept underneath the rug, right? It's going to go to X agency. They're not going to investigate it because they're part of it.
Right.
Well, it would come to us and it would go to our internal affairs process, and then they would do an independent investigation across boards without any collusion, anything like that.
When it comes to the conversation that's going on behind us, obviously we're behind closed doors because you can't do this in a big loud environment. We want to try and be able to do that. Does it feel healthy? How does the conversation feel?
I believe it just validates where we're at as a society and where we need to progress moving forward in law enforcement. We need to grow out of the movie ages where it's hook 'em, book 'em, no interaction, no education. This just validates that the public, you guys, have a general interest in what we do, but how do we bridge that gap? And we need to come together to bridge that gap, and that's why we're here tonight, which is really neat.
What do you think the message should be going forth? I've asked every single person that sat next to me, if you could have one message for someone out there who maybe came in a little cynical, a little critical, maybe a little angry, what kind of message do you want them to go home with?
I would want them to go home with the message that we are empathetic to what everyone is going through. We understand the hardships that a lot of people endure every day. We experience the worst of the worst. And there are times where we take that home with us. So every contact that we have with the public, whether that's through enforcement or through just public forum, just like this, those people become a part of us. And we're able to rationalize the whys rather than, well, it happened, not my problem. It is our problem. It's our community.
Yeah. Lieutenant Andrew Granata, appreciate it. Nice
Thanks,
to meet
sir.
you.
Nice to meet
Thanks
you.
very much.
Appreciate you.
We're
Thank
going to take a break here, and we'll be back. We're going to try and track down Dr. Norris Dupree. I'll take that. Dr. Norris Dupree, and talk to the big man who kicked everything off tonight, coming up next here on the Symposium on Community and Policing here at Hug High School. Welcome back to the 2022 Symposium on Community and Policing. You know, they say to finish the show with a bang, man. And Dr. Norris Dupree, who started this great night off with so many powerful words, I've referred to it multiple times, that our community has the audacity to have a symposium. Well, I think we're proud to have some audacity in here. But you finished that thought with, we are moving forward. Tell me about the vibe out there right now. I haven't been able to get out there. I've been in here, but it's been good conversations in here. Tell me about the vibe outside.
Well, the vibes outside is really, really positive. We have people who are engaging in courageous, genuine dialogue, listening to each other, asking questions, interacting with law enforcement, interacting with our civic leaders, people that are just here, just our community, people that's bringing their concerns, people that's bringing positivity, so there's just a mixture, and people that really want to talk about some answers and solutions and how do we move forward. So it's just really a great time.
Yeah. Dr. Dupree, you're not only a huge community advocate for Northern Nevada, you're also a mental health specialist. You are one of the guys who literally is one of the rocks of the foundation of building this event. You've been here so much. How proud are you of what this has turned into? I mean, we haven't had this event in 2 years, and you had a great crowd show up tonight.
You know what? This is just so amazing. I could not ask for a better turnout. We did not know what was going to happen. For about 2 years, we have been isolating in homes. And so when we had this event, we were really, really concerned about, who was going to show up and was the community going to be able to participate? I think another thing that we were concerned with, the time that we're having it, during election season, would people be on edge? Would people be willing to listen? And once again, the audacity of our community to engage in courageous and genuine dialogue, have empathy for each other, share similarities and differences, and yet respect each other has been a very key component for this dialogue. And really, you feel the love and the excitement in the room.
You've been with this event. You've seen it go away because of what we all dealt with the pandemic. You've seen it resurrected, rise from the ashes. What do you think it needs to evolve into? What do you see as the future of this symposium?
Well, that's a great question. And one of the things that I'm really hoping is that we have more community people, individuals, organizations, institutions, just continue to participate in this community event. Like we want to see it get bigger. We want to have that great dialogue, and we want to really show. What I found out is that that when the community understands that they're part of law enforcement, when they understand that, then we have a safer community. It's not us versus you. It's not I versus you, but it's we. And I keep saying this, all through today, through the symposium, unity, you and I tied together, right? And so we are tied together, whether it's in our indifferences, whether it's in our similarities, somehow we're going to have to make this thing work, and we're going to have to be able to move forward.
When you have moments like this with people coming together from different backgrounds, different experiences, different demographics, financial demographics, whatever, education, it's an opportunity to have some tough conversations.
Right.
Are you seeing some tough conversations out there?
We're seeing some tough conversations.
Good.
I had a great conversation with the DA. I said at the beginning that we still need to move forward. And he asked me, what are some things that we can do in order to move forward? So I talked to him about several things that I feel we can do to move forward. And so he listened. And so that was great, and you're just seeing dialogue and conversation just about several things, a plethora of things concerning mental health, people asking questions concerning, I even talked about to one of our police officers about the riot and what did we learn even from the riot in Reno. So bringing those things up, right? And so we are having those tough challenges and great conversations.
Yeah, it wasn't just law enforcement here. You had elected officials.
Oh, yeah.
The DA Hicks was here to be able to approach and ask questions
Mayor
of him.
Hillary Sheevy was here.
Yep, absolutely. One thing I've asked every single person that sat next to me tonight is, if you have someone that's come in here and maybe they're cynical, maybe they're angry, maybe they're sad, maybe they're scared, what kind of a message you want them to take home with them tonight, no matter where they lay their head? What do you want them to take home?
That's a great question. And
that's not an easy one.
That's not an easy one, but I don't know if I would say anything. I think the best thing I would do is just sit down and listen.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the best thing we need to do is just
sit
sit
down,
down,
listen,
close your mouth, and listen. What I want people to hear now and listen to is Everybody, we have to thank tonight. I mean, the Washoe County School District.
Right.
Okay, I know you got on your phone because you're
Yeah.
a diligent, you're a detailed man. The food trucks, Alex Crosby with Tahoe Creamery. He was here on his own. He was
Right.
just giving the stuff away.
Right.
I mean, that to me, you go ahead and take it from here, sir.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I thank law enforcement, DA Chris Hicks, Deputy Chief Josh Reynolds, that stood in for Chief Eric James from the University of Nevada, Reno Police Services, Sheriff Darren Balaam from Washoe County Sheriff Office, Chief Chris Crawford from Sparks Police Department, Deputy Chief Oliver Miller standing in for Chief Jason Soto from Reno Police Department, Colonel Patrick Conway, Nevada State Police, Chief Jason Trevino, Washoe County School Police, people who made it possible. Once again, I want to thank law enforcement for paying for the food for our community to eat. And that was a combined effort of our law enforcement. Of course, we want to thank Washoe County School District for the use of their facility. We want to thank the food vendors. We already mentioned Alex Crosby. We also want to thank our media partners for being here. And we want to just thank various members from the community that took several months for this thing to come together, and they participated in the meeting. And we want to thank public officials, and we want to thank everybody that was here.
Myself, to be selfish, I want to thank the circle of PIOs that helped to put this together.
Yes.
Stephen Greenlee with the Reno Police Department, I want to thank him. Nick Chambers with Sparks Police Department. Want to thank Nick Goodwin for Sparks Police Department as well. Nevada State Police, that's a PIO, Amanda Powell, who has been tireless as well. And of course, Matt Brown, Strategic Communications with the City of Reno. Thanks to everybody who's been a part of this. Gabby Tafola, our talented media absolute superstar, for helping behind the scenes. Crystal Powell, one of our media people, who's also helped with this whole thing. And yeah, it's been great. And our Under Sheriff Jeffrey Clark, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank him. He's been with this from the start. And I want to thank our former Director of Community Engagement, Brooke Howard, for being a part of this. She's now with a job with specialty courts, but our hearts are still with her. Sir, maybe have the best of luck. It's great to talk to you. I've always said that I love talking to you, and this is a great thing, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Yes.
I think it's going to be big again.
Thank you so much.
That's going to do it for us here on this live stream of the 2022 Symposium on Community and Policing. For Dr. Norris Dupree, I'm Brian Samudio, Public Information Officer of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Have a good night.